Hey everybody, happy Monday. We are back with another episode of The Dribble, the show where we take a closer look into the Boston Celtics, the rest of the NBA, and whatever else might come up. My name is Luke Irwin, and I am your host. So we are here now, right? All-Star break is upon us. We are right in the thick of it. And so it's kind of a great time to look back, reflect on the year that we've had so far, and where we want to go moving forward. So I thought, no better way to do that than give out Celtics report cards. We're going to give Celtic grades report cards for all the Celtics. And then when you hear this sound, that means it is time to shut up about the Celtics. Enough about the Celtics. Let's move on to the rest of the NBA. No major wager this week. We did the bonus episode that was 100% major wager, so no major wager this week. But have no fear, Hope's Hotel is here. Yes. This is, of course, by the way, my tier rankings for all NBA teams where I see their title hopes. But it is back. It has been on a hiatus, but the construction is done and Hope's Hotel is up and operational. Looking forward to the rest of the year and into the playoffs. Plus, as always, we look ahead of all the NBA games this upcoming week, ones to look forward to, along with the Celtics slate of games. So, yeah. So much to get into, and I personally suggest we do. Because this is The Dribble. Report cards. Everybody hates getting their report card. You maybe try to change the letter in the report card or something like that to a grade that's favorable. But there's no hiding from these report cards. I'm going to give out report cards for every single Celtic that is a consistent contributing factor, everything from GM to deep bench players. We're just going to give a quick grade for how they've done their assignment so far this season. And like I said, remember, it's assignment. So like the grades are weighted differently, right? Like Luke Cornett's grade won't mean as much and is weighted differently than JT's grade because it's about how you fulfill your assignment, what your job on the team is. And we're going to give these grades. So let's grade some old men, some grown men. Maybe not old men, but let's grade some grown-ass men. Let's start at the top. We're going to start with GM Brad Stevens. For me, Brad Stevens gets an A+. Plus. And then as many pluses as you want to add. Obviously, he brought KP and Holiday in this season. We've talked about that, while also retaining Brown and White and Horford, and all the while changing the entire identity of this team somehow, which is kind of crazy by pulling Smart, right? He pulls Smart out. So he breaks up this team without really breaking this team up. We all groaned when Smart was taken. We love Smart, but he was such an identifying piece of those teams that just were coming up short every single year, that like it does feel like we shed a skin, which we needed to. We needed to shed a skin. So bravo to Brad, right? He shook up the team. Usually you hear that when a team consistently loses at a similar place in the playoffs, usually shake the team up. Sometimes that means like getting rid of your full core, bringing in new pieces, doing a lot of superstar heavy trades. But he was able to keep our 2 stars while adding 2 stars, one with a big personality in Porzingis, all the while changing the vocal identity, which was Smart, removing that like a surgeon, removing that from the team. And our Jenga board is still up, right? He removes this piece, but it's somehow still up. And then, not to mention, of course, he got us the 2 great additions in Xavier Tillman and Jaden Springer, who are just great defensive players, right? They're not the biggest impact, right? You might see that and go, I'm not sure what that is, but they're going to give a better effort than who we had before. And looking at their body of work, they're tough, hard-nosed defenders, good for Boston. And I don't know how many minutes they're going to get. We'll see what happens over the next couple of months. They're coming in with some injuries, but it is 2 young, promising, defensive-minded people that I'm really excited for. So Brad Stevens, I mean, he has essentially taken this, dissected parts of it that we don't need while keeping parts that we do need. He's basically done a full rebuild without rebuilding anything, just kind of moving parts around. So kudos. And 2 guys, Holiday and Porzingis, who have fit so seamlessly into the team. He picked the right guys in the right moments. Porzingis coming off of a great year with the Wizards. and he plays with us, and he's having a fantastic year. I think he's one of the pillars of this team. But how you use those players kind of comes down to the next guy. So that is Brad Stevens with an A++++, as high as you can give. He definitely is valedictorian of this team right now. But how do you use those players, right? Next up, we're going to go ahead and give Joe Mazzulla his report card. So Joe Mazzulla gets an A for me, and people bash him. They call him second row Joe. They think that maybe he was a reason that we didn't make it as far as we did in the playoffs last year, but he was a first-year coach. I have absolutely loved Joe's rotations this year. I've been very impressed with how Joe has rotated everybody out. This combined with like the nearly, like I said, seamless integration of KP and Holiday, two really good players who deserve high minutes, coming into a team that has been there, done that, been in battle together. He's done a great job of seamlessly kind of working them into the offense and changing things around. But yeah, he was dealt a tough hand, even though an easy hand. We're a good team. This year, he was dealt a tough hand. You take away a team's vocal leader, their veteran, in Marcus Smart, and he's also taken on a tremendous amount of stress, right? A tremendous amount of pressure. Boston already has this pressure of like, well, you got to win. It's championship or bust, and he hasn't won a championship yet. But he's certainly not folded under the pressure, which a lot of people would have done. And it's a talent-heavy roster, so not only do people expect a championship, but then they're like, well, how could you not do it with this group of guys? But he's really been putting it together with all the different personalities. He's encouraged and empowered JT to become like the leader of this team. It feels more like this year JT has more of a firm grasp on that leadership role, and that's all Joe giving him the reins. He's elevated White to a position of prominence on the team, again, giving him opportunities, encouraging him. He seems like a really good coach at that. Like all the players seem to have confidence in themselves and confidence in each other, and that kind of does stem from the coach. A lot of that stuff leaks down, and he was able to develop a lot of in-house talent. We haven't had to make a lot of trades. Brad hasn't had to move the back end of the roster around that much. He's done some things here and there, but overall, Joe has really gotten the best squeeze out of these for the juice out of these guys, out of like Hauser and Cornette, people who would have been trade pieces, Pritchard, but he's actually integrated them well into this team. So now we have like this amazing amount of chemistry between the starters and the bench players, because it's not just a random group of guys. They've been through battle together, and he's done great. But like I said, I love his rotations. He currently has Tatum coming out of the game in the first quarter. His first rest is at about 6 minutes, unless we have, we're injury ridden. If we're shorthanded, then he stays in longer. But Tatum usually comes out the 6 minute mark, which allows Brown and White to kind of handle those minutes. And then he comes back in with about 2 minutes left in the first quarter. And then now it's Tatum's job to be the talent with the first real rotation of bench in the game. And then Tatum, from this point forward, his minutes bleed into the second quarter, and that's Tatum's game. Tatum currently is second in the league in second quarter scoring with 8.9, only behind Luka Doncic with 9.1, so he's right there with Luka. But Tatum's second quarter scoring is second in the league, very high, and this is when he kind of dominates the game, typically. And this is Joe, I think. This is Joe's doing. Joe gets him a rest early in the first, puts him back in with 2 minutes left in the first. That way he kind of gets his rhythm back, and then the second quarter, for the first 6-7 minutes, he's in there and he goes on a tear. And that's when you see those moments where Jason Tatum, all of a sudden you look down, he has 31 points at half, and you're like, oh, how did that happen? Well, he was fresh for the second quarter and just was playing against the other team's bench, because that's the typical rotation. You'd have bench to start that second quarter. So again, just very smart by Joe, utilizing him in a great way. And I also think that he's done a great job with double big lineups this year. And he's also given confidence to Pritchard and Hauser, keeping them in, like I said, building that in-house talent. Just good coaching. I haven't had much to complain about. The only thing I could say is his challenges. Sometimes his challenges seem a little bit questionable as far as like importance and timing, right? It'll be like he'll challenge an out of bounds play in the first quarter, and it's like, but it kind of did go off the Celtics. Why are we doing this challenge? It seems a little questionable, but he does win them at a high rate. He wins them at one of the highest rates for all head coaches in the NBA. So he's good. He's well above 500 in his challenges. Just sometimes you're like, Joe, you're using her challenge there? All right, whatever. What are you going to do? But my only question is end game situations, and I don't know how much this is players, right, like a Tatum and Brown, or how much this is coaching. But the whole team, he doesn't call timeouts late. He still doesn't really do that this year. He's gotten a little bit better, but he still doesn't do it. So it'll be interesting to see these next couple of months and then this second playoff run with Joe, where he goes late game. Next, let's go to the players. Let's go to the number one player. You already know who it is. It's Neemias Queta. No, I'm kidding. We're going to give a grade to Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, again, remember, these grades are weighted. Jason Tatum's the best player on this team, and he was top 4 in MVP voting, and he was first team All-NBA last year, so his grade is weighted differently. I give him a B+. I give Tatum a B+. Now, this grade is only rising because I think in the past couple of weeks, he's really shown a new elevation to his game. But there have been flashes of Tatum of old, some late game disappearances, some questionable decisions late game, some dependency on 3-pointers, just some step backs. But lately he has realized that he is 6'8", and he is a power forward, and he is strong and has hit the weight room this year, and he's actually going inside. And not only is he going inside, but he's dishing. He's making the right passes. A couple of games in the past 7 games, he has 9 assists, 8 assists, 10 assists. He's really distributing the ball great, and he's going downhill first, either finishing at the rim, dishing it out. And he's been great. When he's playing aggressive like that, and he knows he's a power forward, and he's not Steph Curry, then we're kind of hard. We're like impossible to beat at that point. But when he goes 3 for 15 from 3, there's not a chance. I think almost without a doubt by the end of this season, including the playoffs, his grade will be an A, maybe even an A+, because he's on that trajectory. If he plays how he is now, unbelievable. But he's up there, though. He's up there. He's been studying, listening in class, studying. He has a tutor, right? So his grade is on the rise. He could be on a roll by the end of the year. I actually kind of guarantee he will be. But for now, we're going to give him a B+, because you got to grade the whole season. You can't just grade how he looks right now or what you think his potential will be. This is how his season has been. Some ups, some downs. Obviously, his scoring's down, but I actually think that's a good thing for his playmaking and his overall basketball play with all the talent that we have. Next, his Robin, Jaylen Brown. For Jaylen Brown, I'm going to give him a B-. I've honestly not been super happy with Jaylen Brown. I love Jaylen Brown. I wanted to give him a C+, but then again, I didn't want to be attacked by all of the JB lovers, which I am a JB lover, but sometimes people act like he's the second coming of Michael Jordan, which he just is not. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and sometimes with him, I feel that way. He is so quick to go 1v5 against so many people. And this year, he has not jumped to the highest paid NBA player in the league. He has not jumped to that skill level. He's kind of regressed a little bit. I don't trust him as much. He still has these explosive plays. He's having the best dunking season of his career. Obviously, he didn't win the dunk contest, but in-game dunking, he's definitely the best in the league. He's amazing. I love him. I love Jaylen Brown, but I'm going to give him a B- because I want to see him step up a little bit more. It seems like his game is so ISO heavy this year. JT seems to be evolving out of that. JB is really hard to watch sometimes. Sometimes he breaks down, and sometimes he becomes a little bit too selfish in his play, and for that, I'm going to give him a B-. His defense has also taken a little bit of a dip. He's always been seen as this two-way player. He's a great two-way player. Again, love JB, but it has taken a dip. It really has. Watch his defense. He just doesn't have that first step that he did before. The thing that made him a B- and not a C+ for me is his game with Porzingis and him have a two-man game that I'm not going to say it's unmatched, because it's certainly not unmatched, but we see a lot there. Whether it's pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever it might be, just a good two-man game. They have connection on the lob going up to Porzingis. They have connection on the pocket pass. They have connection on the cut. JB's a really good backdoor cutter. Porzingis is a great passer for a center or for a guy his size, unicorn, whatever you want to call him. So they do play well together, and they live near each other, and they joke with each other. They seem to be friends. So this could be the key to opening up Jaylen Brown. Next, let's go to a fan favorite, Derek White. D. White, Derek White. Again, grade for his assignment. His assignment is to be a supporter, a starting supporter, and play two-way. For this, he gets an A-. I'm giving Derek White an A-. Now, I hear you, D. White fans, just wanting a flat A. Okay, he is our king. Yes, he is. But he did hit a bit of a rough patch after the JJ Redick podcast, the podcast curse. Every single time Derek White goes on JJ Redick's podcast, he ends up getting cursed, and they talk about how good he is, but then after the podcast, for the next couple of weeks, he plays terrible. And that happened this year. On the old man in the three, he went on there, and then all of a sudden he couldn't shoot. He couldn't hit anything from three, and he just wasn't playing as well. But it is turning around a little bit. We just want to see that consistency. But he's been so good. Best blocking guard in the NBA for sure. Great perimeter, great inside defense. And then offensively, he's a surefire bucket when we need one, when people aren't doing it. And he's not just a three-point shooter. He goes in there, he gets in the paint. He's also a great passer, amazing IQ. Look, this guy comes from the school of Greg Popovich. So what are you going to expect? You're going to expect a smart basketball player. And that's exactly what Derek White is. He's such a smart basketball player, and you see it. You see Greg Popovich in him. He plays the right way. He plays quiet, but he plays loud, right? It's a very good balance of how he plays, and he has such an impact. Every minute he's out there, even if he doesn't touch the ball or guard the ball, he has an impact on the game. So for that, A-. Like I said, the minus is only because there was a stretch, but I got to grade fairly, right? I got to grade fairly. A- is still pretty dang good. Let's move on to our other guard, our other defensive specialist guard, Drew Holiday. Let's see. For this year, I'm going to give Drew Holiday a B, a big old buzzing B. Honestly, the impact of Drew Holiday's play has been underwhelming this year. I'm still so confident, especially in the playoffs, that he is going to come up big. His defense has been so great. It's been very solid. But from what I was expecting out of Drew Holiday, it hasn't been... He hasn't felt so integrated, especially offensively. This team's defensive identity is off the charts, and Drew Holiday fits in there seamlessly, as he obviously would because he's Drew Holiday. But offensively, you find him kind of like forcing shots a lot this season. It doesn't seem in the flow. Sometimes when he's doing it, it'll be great because it might get, if Tatum's on a little bit of a slump, it might get us out. But mainly, it feels like it gets us into slumps. He's a little bit ISO heavy because, again, I don't think it's his fault. That's not his style. It's more he's not really fitting in with the offense. And for that, it's a B. Again, amazing defense, but he's got to get a B because he needs to. I want him to get more integrated chemistry-wise into Boston's offense. Next, let's talk about, another new contender or another new player on the team. That's Kristaps Porzingis, a.k.a. Porzy, a.k.a. the Latvian Leviathan. We love Kristaps Porzingis. He is the unicorn. He gets an A+. A+ grade for Kristaps Porzingis. I talk about him all the time on the pod, so we're not going to go into him too much. But you can hate me for it. A+. His role, his assignment was to come in and give us help in the middle, but be a big that can stretch the floor. My goodness, that's what he does. He can take over for a stretch. He can score 20 straight points sometimes. He is unbelievable. His defense in the paint anchors us, and then he's able to chase out on the three-point line on defense. And then offensively, obviously, we see it. Anybody smaller than him, which is basically everybody, he just turns, squares, doesn't even jump, shoots right over him. And I trust that shot. And his three-point shot looks weird, but I trust that shot. It's not like he's a big man who can shoot threes. He's a big man with a bag. Kristaps Porzingis is a big man with a big old bag, and he just whips that bag out, and he does what he does. He is such a bag. It's unbelievable. I've never seen somebody that size play like that. He plays like a point guard, plays like a shooting guard. It's incredible. And then, like I said, defense. And contrary to what we thought, his one flaw that we thought he was going to have coming in was the locker room. We were told that he was a bad locker room guy. He's been a great locker room guy. He's bought into the Boston culture. He's bought into the fans. He's bought into the players. He's bought into letting Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and even Derek White kind of be the pure leaders of this team. And he's just taking his talents, doing his thing, and enjoying the ride. His smile on his face every single game tells that story. So for that, A+. A+. Definitely on a roll for Kristaps Porzingis. Next, let's go to Al Horford. Look, Al Horford's getting a C+. Thought he'd be a little bit more impactful. He's getting old. This one's going to be pretty quick on Al. He has some solid moments. He's still Al Horford. He has some, Al is our resident big man. and he's a resident old guy. He's our resident veteran. He has a level head on his shoulders, and he's still that man, but just impact gameplay-wise, I'd almost rather see a Kornet sub instead of an Al Horford sub, which I hate saying that, but his minutes have been dwindling. Joe's been cutting them a little bit, and maybe it's to rest for the playoffs, and I think he still can give us some huge moments in the playoffs. I think he still will have like the big game against Giannis, or a big play at least, a turning point play against Giannis, but as a consistent player and what I thought he was going to be this year, I got to give him a C+. Sorry, Al. I love you. I love Al, and I'm going to get some hate, but C+. Next is Sam Hauser. Again, remember, these are for the specific assignment for the player. A+. A+ for Sam Hauser. I'm a big Hauser guy. His role is to come off the bench and spark the bench with scoring, and that's what he does. That's what he does. He shoots an incredible clip in the 40% from three, and he plays good defense, and he makes good cuts, and he's a smart player. He never gets lost on defense, which is the one thing that we thought that was going to happen. Again, his grade is weighted differently because his role isn't as important. But I think he has done every single thing that we've asked him to do. Doesn't take too many shots, doesn't get too shot happy, but when he hits them, they're big, and he shoots at such a great clip. That's what his job is. Speaking of somebody else who plays really well within their job, Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard. Let's see. Let's give Peyton Pritchard a grade. B+. I'm going to give Peyton Pritchard a B+. He has been a little bit up and down this year. Obviously, he hits some unbelievable threes, a little step backs, huge crowd favorite, so that's a big plus. That adds to his grade. If somebody who comes in the game hits a three and the whole crowd goes crazy, bringing up the energy in the building, you get a little bit extra points. That's some extra credit on your homework. You get a little bit of a better grade. So B+. But I think his greatest thing, obviously, like I said, he shoots threes. He's a good scorer. He's tenacious. The crowd loves him. But his most crucial skill that he does for us is rebounding. For such a small guy, he hunts the rebounds. He hunts the boards, meaning he waits, watches the shot, lets the ball come off, and instead of his size just trying to pure go up and get it, he snakes through and steals the ball and snakes through and gets the angles, gets to the right spot. And he's been a huge leg up for us with his rebounding, especially offensive rebounding. He's so good for a small guard at offensive rebounding. For that, you get a B+. Love you, Peyton Pritchard. PP, fast PP, my big P boy. All right. Next, let's move on to Luke Kornet, my namesake. Luke Kornet. At the beginning of the season, I kind of wanted to trade for Luke Kornet, so I'm going to give him a C+. Yeah, not so great. He's been really good now. He was failing before. He was a failing student. I was calling for him to be kicked out of class, be held back a grade. But lately, over the past month and a half, he showed some serious consistency, and he's brought that grade up. He's studied a lot, done some extra homework, and he's now at a C+. His play recently just has been strong and reliable. He plays the anchor. He plays a typical center. He provides like that traditional center role. But he can also just like score a quick 6 points, right? Layup, alley-oop, dunk, steal, outlet, right? There's these stretches that he has where he just rifles off 6 points. And that's what we need him to be. We need him to come in, give a little bit of a boost, play solid defense. His defense is the one thing that he seems a step behind sometimes, and you're watching these switches when we are playing a switching defense, or maybe even drop coverage defense. He's a little bit slow, and people take advantage of him. Let's move on to the last center. Move on to Neemias Queta. Queta is awesome. I love Queta. I'm going to give Queta, again, according to your assignment, a B+, because I thought he was going to be fourth string center, never play any games, not really have any real impact, and he might not get playoff minutes barring injury, but he is aggressive. He can block, he can defend, right? He can get up for rebounds and for alley-oops, and doesn't really shoot the ball well. He's like Kornet, where he's more of a traditional center, which you don't really want more than one on a team in modern NBA. You want them to be able to stretch the floor a little bit, but he's so great, and he's been just a great surprise. I would love to see him get playoff minutes, but B+ for now. We'll see how kind of the next couple of months go. You know what that means? That means it is time to stop talking about the Celtics. Those were the Celtics report cards. Celtics report cards officially out. Before we move on to the NBA, I'm just going to read those out to you real quick. So we had Brad Stevens with an A++. And then we had Joe Mazzulla with a solid A, great student. Then Jason Tatum with a B+, but on the trajectory for valedictorian and honor roll. Think he's going to get there by the end of the year. Jaylen Brown with a B-, some improvement needed. Derek White with an A-, gotta love D. White, the great White Derek. Next, Drew Holiday with a B. Kristaps Porzingis with an A+, Porzy, Latvian Leviathan coming in. Al Horford with a C+, Sam Hauser with an A+, love his game. Peyton Pritchard with a B+, Luke Cornett with a C+, and Neemias Queta with a B+. So those are the grades. Now, let's move on to Hope's Hotel. If you are a longtime listener of The Dribble, you know that Hope's Hotel is a staple of this show, but we haven't done Hope's Hotel in a while. Hope's Hotel, for those of you who do not know, is my tier ranking list where I rank teams in the NBA, every team in the NBA, based on what I believe their title hopes are, right? Hence the name Hope's Hotel, where they are staying in the hotel everywhere from the penthouse, high hopes, or all the way down to the parking lot. No hopes, right? And this is a great edition of Hope's Hotel. I'm really excited for this one because we have basically reached the halfway point, a little bit past it. The All-Star break usually marks like the halfway point, moving on to the more important part of the season. A lot of teams' rosters are pretty much set. The trade deadline has passed. All-Star break is going to be over this coming week, and teams are really getting into it. It's crunch time, vying for position, seeds, and just trying to get the best basketball out of their team as they can as they move into the playoffs. So it's a super exciting time in the NBA and a good time to check in with the NBA. Take a little pulse. Take a pulse of the NBA and see where some of the teams are. Let's go ahead and bring it up. We start with the parking lot, the low of the lows. And keep in mind real quick that we're going to have a lot more teams in the parking lot. Because as you get closer to crunch time, as you get closer to playoffs, we can't have all these teams in Hope's Hotel. The numbers dwindle because the hopes dwindle for all these teams. So let's start out with the parking lot. Okay, so we have the Washington Wizards and the Detroit Pistons currently on the bus stop. They are the two worst teams in the league. They have multiple 3-4 bottles of wine splayed out around them because they've given up. They've given up. They got their beanies on. They're smoking cigarettes. It's a good group. And then right next to them, you have the San Antonio Spurs, who are right there, but they do have Victor Wembanyama. So they're not quite at the bus stop, but they're terrible. I think they have 11 total wins at this point in the season. Not going to do it. And then we have the Charlotte Hornets, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers, the Brooklyn Nets, the Toronto Raptors, and the Chicago Bulls. Oh, and also the Houston Rockets. So, like I said, there's a lot of new teams in this. Memphis, let's talk about them first, right? They're back in the parking lot after, I think, maybe 1 week, one time in the lobby that they were staying. Ja Morant came back. He had a game winner. He had a couple good stat lines. They won a couple of games. And then he's out. Shoulder surgery. Takes a lot out of you. He's going to be missing the rest of the season, so they don't have him, and they're back to losing games. Not very good. They are 13th in the West, and they currently have a 20-36 record. Ouch. Parking lot. Sorry. Then you have the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, they have been moved from the lobby into the parking lot. They've finally left the lobby. I think they've been in there almost the entire season. This team is uninspired, and they need a New York name, right? Like a big name. They need a star. They need somebody to take over. And right now, they have some young promising talent. Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas. These are all potential like third, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth options on like a serious contender. But they have nobody who's ready to take over the driver's seat. And so right now this team's a little bit lost as the Knicks are ascending in New York. The Nets seem to be descending. So, and then also the Rockets. Yeah, we love the Rockets. They've been frisky. I've been all about the Rockets, all about Ime. I love this team. I love Şengün. I love Jalen Green. I think Ime Udoka is top tier coach in the league. But like I said, this is crunch time. And if we're really talking about title hopes, are these guys really going to be vying for a title come April and June? I don't think so. Not really happening. They've also gone 9-15 in 2024 and have dropped out of play-in contention. So I think they're 11th right now in the West since 2024. So again, they're kind of slipping, kind of becoming who they were, but they are frisky. Look out for them in years to come. So those are the teams in the parking lot, the teams with no hope, according to me. And according to basically everybody, I think it's pretty consensus. We have the Wizards, the Pistons, the Spurs, the Hornets, the Grizzlies, the Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Nets, the Raptors, the Chicago Bulls, and the Houston Rockets. Now, let's make our way to the hotel and let's see who is in the lobby. Who do we have waiting, trying to last hope get a room in Hope's Hotel? We have currently the Miami Heat, the LA Lakers, the Sacramento Kings, the 76ers, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Magic, and the Hawks. Yes, the Magic. You're probably thinking, why are they in there? Why are they in there? And I'm kind of thinking the same thing. But next time we do Hope's Hotel, maybe they'll be in the parking lot. But for now, they're keeping a pretty good record. So, I mean, they're going to at least be in the playoffs, it looks like. So let's go over some of these teams, some of the new teams. Let's go over the Lakers. I'm sorry, LeBron. You know, there's always hope when LeBron's on there. That's why he's still in the hotel. But it does not look great right now. Your best win was against my Celtics when both LeBron and Anthony Davis didn't even play. So it was kind of a fluke game. They played different than they're used to. They shot like over 50% from three, and they shot a lot of threes. So you can't really take that into consideration. They are 19th in the league right now in both net rating and offensive rating. 19th. So again, bottom half of the league. And their defensive rating is 14th, so it's not great. You know, they're all around kind of been slipping, and with the injuries of AD and LeBron being the age that he is, it's kind of hard for them to keep up. I think, and I might eat my words later, but I think the in-season tournament was all that the LA Lakers are going to accomplish this season. But who knows? It's LeBron. He could go absolute bionic come playoff time. Also, a new team in the lobby is the Miami Heat. They went from the standard room all the way down to the lobby. I love the Miami Heat. I know I will probably regret taking them out of a standard room. That's always the case with Miami. But, you know, injuries and that fearful sense of they cannot keep getting away with this, right? Like they can't keep being bad or being mediocre in the regular season and then finding themselves in the finals. They can't keep getting away with this, right? So it's kind of, that's the reason. That feeling has me thinking that this is not their year. Literally, though, that's what we say every year. We say it's not the Heat's year. It's not the Heat's year. The Heat, I'm not worried about the Miami Heat at all. And then it's late April, and we're losing into Game 7 to the Miami Heat. And Caleb Martin, don't get me started. But they do have some injuries right now with Terry Rozier, a newcomer, and he, even before the injury, wasn't playing so well, not working into their offense. Jimmy Butler's been in and out of the lineup, and Heat culture kind of thrives off of undrafted bench guys who come off and just give you this incredible spark, incredible hustle, good shooting, good sound defense. And it just, again, doesn't seem like they have that in spades this year. They lost Max Strus, which is a huge part of that group. So we'll see what they can do. Again, I'll probably end up regretting saying all of this about the Miami Heat, and I'll be crying into Larry Bird house when they beat us in late April, early June. Another new team, and it's pretty obvious, is the Sixers, right? Again, I couldn't take them out because there's a chance that Joel Embiid will return from knee surgery that he got earlier this year. It looks like they're saying 4 weeks, but with an injury like that, and especially a big man, and he puts so much weight and so much pressure and so much power on that knee that it's tough to see him come back in 4 or 5 weeks, time for the playoffs. But keep the window open, leaving them in Hope's Hotel, and we'll see if he can actually come back. Since he's been gone, including the game against the Warriors where he got injured, the Sixers have been they've lost 6 of 9 games, right? So that's not very good. They're 3-6 over that stretch, including a game, like I said, against the Warriors. I love Maxey. I love him as a supporting cast, or even maybe a third guy on a real championship contender, I think is kind of where he actually lives. I think he's having a breakout year. He'll probably win most improved player, but I think really where he lives and where he thrives is going to be a third man on a championship team. But he's a great two-man, great Robin right now. But they go as Embiid goes. That's the bottom line. That's why he was MVP last year. That's why he was on pace to be MVP again this year. They go as he goes, and right now Embiid is a no-go. So no, they are in the lobby. So yeah, those are the teams for the lobby. I'll read them again before we go up to the standard rooms. Not saying that lobby doesn't matter, but standard is pretty good. We have the Miami Heat, Los Angeles Lakers, Sacramento Kings, the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Orlando Magic, and the Atlanta Hawks. All right, let's go ahead and show the standard rooms. Boom. Those are the standard rooms. We have, fall from grace, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Phoenix Suns, the Indiana Pacers, the Warriors, and the Mavericks. That is the Bucks, Suns, Pacers, Warriors, Mavericks, currently in a standard room in Hope's hotel. So they're doing pretty good, but again, a lot of people have fallen. You'll notice that these teams, only one team was in a standard room last time we met, and that team is the Indiana Pacers. They've pretty much stayed, I think, where they deserve. They definitely have not done enough to reach that next tier, the suites tier, but they are here in the standard rooms. But like I said, 4 new teams. We have the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's start with the Bucks. And God, let's start with the Bucks. The Bucks are 3-7 since Doc Rivers took over. Not good. They actually technically have like a better defense under Doc, numbers-wise, but they haven't played the best competition, so don't take too much stock in that. It still just looks like they're uninspired, disconnected. Damian Lillard still just can't play defense. I just don't think it's in his DNA to play good defense. They switch too slow on defense, or they play drop coverage against teams that will rip you apart from the three-point line. I've noticed it in their games. They just play a really soft defense against teams you can't play soft against, and then when they play man and they play a switching man, they switch way too slow, and then they find themselves in bad rotations, and they're just getting ripped apart by an open man. It's not the other team just being more talented. They're just getting ripped apart by scheme. And yeah, I mean, as far as contenders go, they still have a standard. They got Giannis, they got Dame Lillard, they got some rough riders, Jay Crowder and all them, but do I believe in them to be a sweet, or especially a penthouse team? Not right now, and not under Doc Rivers. Love Doc Rivers. Won us a championship. But come on, we went over it last time. Never gets out of the second round. How much am I supposed to really believe in that? The only thing really keeping them here is that Giannis will will them to a great win or a great playoff series win at least, I think. And then Dame is always going to be clutch. He's always going to do what he does. But this is a big year for the Bucks and Giannis. They lose in round 1 against the Miami Heat. Get swept, not just lose, swept in round 1 against Miami Heat. If it kind of goes similar this year and they're out early, Giannis is going to want to make a move. So you might want to pick up those Bucks Giannis jerseys while you can if they fall again this year. Another new team on the standard rooms is the Suns. The Phoenix Suns have been a roller coaster of a team, and we knew that. Having KD and Beal and Booker on the same team is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs, a lot of injuries happening left and right. But there's not too much to say. It's really, KD is why they're here. They've started the new year with a cool 7-game win streak and have been just like on and off a little bit since, kind of that unpredictability. But they have KD, and then with the 2 killers in Booker and Beal, when they're healthy, if they're healthy, you can't tell me, if you're a fan of a different team, you cannot tell me you want to face this team. They're kind of on and off defensively, but if they can get it, then they just have a lot of firepower on offense. Next up is the Warriors. Maybe a little bit surprising to see the Warriors in a standard room. They have not been great this year by any stretch, but Steph is still Steph, averaging 28, 4, and 5. And Klay recently has had some high-level games. He put on a 35-point performance after coming off the bench. He humbled himself and then came in and did what he had to do, reminding everybody who he is. And they still have Draymond, and I know we've seen it all year. It doesn't look like they have it anymore. People want to break him up. But I'll believe it when I see it. And they've also won 8 of their last 10 games. They're on kind of a hot streak. Beating the Sixers twice, the Pacers, the Suns. Those were some notable wins in the last stretch that they've had entering the Allstar break. So they're hitting good stride at the right time. They are still the Warriors, Steve Kerr and everybody. They still won a lot of championships, and they won one very recently. We're so quick to write them off, but I have them in a standard room. I'm always afraid of the Warriors as a Celtics fan. We know what they can do. And then finally, the Mavs. The Mavs have moved out of a suite and moved down here. They have lost 8 of their last 12 games in late January. They rifled off 6 wins recently, so they're off of a 6-game winning streak, but they had a really rough stretch of going 8 losses out of 12 games. So, 4-12, or 4-8 rather, is just not... It's just they're showing the inconsistencies and the lack of defense that we know. And in that stretch of the 6 wins that they've recently had, like I said, they're on a 6-game winning streak technically right now. But in that, no impressive wins. One impressive win, but it's not an impressive resume. You have they beat the injury-riddled Sixers, and they beat the Knicks, who again have so many injuries on their roster right now. They also beat the Spurs and the Wizards and the Nets in that 6-game win streak. So yeah, 6 games winning NBA, it's hard to do. But we're talking about title hopes, and they still have a standard room. But for that, I can't give them a sweep. They did, however, in that stretch beat the Thunder. That was their big, impressive win, and they crushed the Thunder by like 30 points, and the Thunder were healthy. So that was probably their best win of the season. It's too sporadic for me to give them a sweep, though. They have the talent, Irving, Doncic, obviously. They got some good young talent in Derek Lively, but are they ready for a sweep? I say no. But you know who is ready for a sweep? Some other teams. That's how it goes. And I'm going to read off some of those other teams. Real quick, standard rooms, go over them. We have the Bucks, the Suns, the Pacers, the Warriors, and the Mavericks, all with standard rooms entering the post-All-Star break. Now let's go to the suites. Let's go ahead and reveal. Boom! Yeah. Again, some shakeups and some well-deserved sweeps. I'm really excited to go over the sweet teams. So we have the Denver Nuggets. They have fallen from grace. They were in a penthouse last time. Look, they're fourth in the West. They're right now on a 3-game losing streak entering the All-Star break. They've lost to some big contenders, some people that they probably will see in the playoffs or at least the finals. But they have the best player in the league, and they have players that get it done when it needs to get done. Jamal Big Game Murray will just show up in the playoffs. We know that. Even if he's in a little bit of a slump, he's going to show up. However, there's only so long you can hold on to, right, this idea of defending champs. Oh, well, of course, Denver's the best team in the West because they're the defending champs. And there's only so long that you can play that narrative into picking them as the best team in the West. And right now, I don't have them as the best team in the West. There's somebody above them. So they could easily win the championship again, and none of us would be surprised. But as of right now, fourth in the West, on a little bit of a slump, I put them in a suite. Still an honor. It's an honor. Denver Nuggets fans. It's an honor. Okay, next is the Cavs. Yup, the Cavs are arguably the best team in the league since 2024 has entered our lives, has come around. They're 18-3 in this new year. Mitchell has been incredible all this stretch of the 18-3 stretch. And their defense has been off the charts good. They're fast, they switch well, and their offense is well-oiled machine. Now, the competition that they've been playing in 2024 so far has not been the best, but in that stretch, they still have wins against the Clippers, who are a great team, and the Bucks twice. Other than that, they've kind of beat up on a lot of parking lot teams, but good teams do that. You still have to beat it. They're still NBA teams. We've seen how that goes, right? So they really have a great list of they've been playing really well lately. This home stretch of the season will tell us everything, though, because the competition's got a little bit harder. People play a little bit harder. They're trying to vie for seeding. The Cavs are trying to vie for seeding. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll really tell the test, right? Is this Cavs team legit? Do they deserve to be in a suite? Or are they kind of a standard room lobby team like we thought they were all year? So kudos to the Cavs. Like I said, they have been arguably the best team in the league, except for one or two teams, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. Of course, the Thunder and the Timberwolves are still in their suites. Obviously, Thunder and Timberwolves are incredible. Top two teams in the West. They're playing great. They're young. They're energetic. I don't know how much I trust them to put them in a penthouse just because of how young they are, but love these two teams. Love the way they play, and they both have superstars in the making. But then we move on to another team, and this team I'm super excited about. And the Boston in me doesn't want to be excited about this team, but I am excited about this team, and that's the New York Knicks. Shout out to my boy Linguini. I know you're out there. You're listening. What's up, my guy? Love your Knicks. I love the Knicks. I love them. They're playing so well, and especially when we get into the playoffs and they get healthier, they are going to be such a tough team to play. Yeah, currently they've lost 5 of their last 6. However, that has basically just been Brunson out there with his high school teammates because of all the injuries that they've suffered, right? So make no mistake about it. When this team is healthy, this is a scary team. They are so well balanced in offense and defense. And it's really hard. Like, they are top 10 in offensive, defensive, and net rating. So offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating, they are all top 10. So they're such a well-balanced team, and they're just tough, and they keep coming at you. And they have young, good talent. Jalen Brunson, obviously superstar in this league. He's been incredible. If he continues this dominance, then all the talk that I've always had and a lot of people say about how New York just needs that one superstar is over, because Jalen Brunson can be that one superstar. Now, the next couple of months, that's why this part of the season is so exciting, are so telling. Is he the number one? Can he be the superstar that New York Knicks fans have been waiting for since Ewing? Or is he really just going to be a glorified number 2? He's a small guard, so kind of hard to be the best player in the league or best player on a championship team as a small guard, but we will see. I love, obviously, OG Anunoby coming over. He's been injured, but his play has really just gotten everybody moving, and they have a new sense of energy. Love watching this team play, and I don't want to face them. As a Celtics fan, I do not. If they stayed around where they are, we'd probably see them in the second round. I don't want to see them at all. Honestly, I'm not saying I'm afraid, so shut up. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid, but just stop. I'm not afraid. Why are you saying I'm afraid? I'm not. So anyway, those are the teams in the suites and that I'm not afraid of. Okay? So don't ask again. All right? I'm not afraid of them. The teams are in the suites: the Denver Nuggets, the Cleveland Cavaliers, much deserved, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the OKC Thunder, and the New York Knicks. Those teams again: Nuggets, Cavs, Timberwolves, Thunder, Knicks. Great teams. Now, let's reveal the penthouse teams. Boom! Those are the penthouse teams. Yes! The Los Angeles Clippers, the team that I have dubbed the 2018 All-NBA team because they were all on the All-NBA squads in 2018, 6 years ago. And they all seem like aged superstars that can't work together, but they can. And then, of course, the Boston Celtics. They have not moved much. Yeah, I'm a homer. Get over it. Celtics are the balls. But they also are obviously the best team in the league. I mean, they obviously have the best record. They play really well-rounded ball. We just talked about it. Jason Tatum has elevated his game to play better within a system and not just be a talent, an offensive talent to have on the team. He has really upped his game. So they deserve to be there. But let's talk about the Clippers. I'm really excited to talk about these Clippers. The Clippers are almost flawless, in my opinion. I was a hater. I did not think it was going to work. I was one of those people who was like, there's only one ball. How are they all going to get their shots up? This isn't going to work. It is working, and it's working with flying colors. But I want to break down why it's working because, of course, they have so many stars. Like I said, 2018 All-NBA team. But let's go through each person, and this is why I think it's working. This is why I hope to God they don't make it to the finals if the Celtics make it to the finals. I would rather see any other team than the Clippers right now in the finals. That includes the Nuggets, that includes the Timberwolves, that includes the Thunder, all those teams. This team is the team I would be most worried to see. Let's go through it. First of all, you would think 4 superstars, not going to work, but here's why it does. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have been playing and always have been playing through their career the right way. These are 2 stars who have always been smart, and they are both two-way players. And not only that, but they're 2 players who have led their team, been the sole guy, the number 1 guy on their team to prolific winning or to actually winning a championship. So both of them are seasoned two-way players who play smart, have great IQ, and have shown a willingness to sacrifice. They're not your typical superstars, right? If you talk about like back in the day, Melo and Wade and all these people, how are they going to work? No, this is a different group of guys. These guys are defensive-minded as well, so the whole one-ball thing doesn't work there. Then Russell Westbrook, the person who I think I've been the most proud of in the entire league this season. Russell Westbrook has been through the ringer and is better from it. He was your typical superstar, stat padding, trying to grab, triple doubles, trying to get the record, always just a little bit, awe-inspiring athleticism, the highlights and some drama off the court, some tiffs with reporters, typical superstar stuff. But since being absolutely roasted by fans, Russell Westbrook and all that stuff and all the losing and all the moving around, he's finally humbled himself. He's coming off the bench and he is incredible. He has been giving them this spark off the bench because he's still that guy. He's still so talented. He's not that old. And he's putting together some great runs for this team. So when this other superstars go to the bench, we're still facing off against Russell Westbrook. And he's just been this great spark. Okay, and then also, next, they do have their regular superstar, James Harden. James Harden is still playing like the step-back James that we've always known, step-back Jimmy, where he is scoring at a high volume, but he matured a lot in the Sixers tenure by leading the league in assists last season with the Sixers. He's gained this sense of selflessness where, yes, he's still that guy. He's still James Harden. He's the most typical superstar on this team right now. But he also has learned how to play well within the game, and he has experience of leading the NBA in assists under his belt, and it shows. He's making the right shots, and he's making the right passes, making the right plays. And it's really scary to see all four of them sacrificing and playing the right kind of basketball. Also, Ty Lue has experience with his fair share of superstars. Ty Lue is the perfect coach for this team, right? Defensive-minded, and he's dealt with superstars his entire career. That's basically his job, has been managing superstars, even when he was a player. And so what a better coach. There's no better coach than Ty Lue to manage this team, and he's been doing great. And then finally, Zubac. He's the perfect anchor. He's the perfect center for this team. For this much talent, he's just a conventional center, plays the right way, plays tough defense, but can kill you with an 8-point stretch. He can go off 8 points straight in a game at any point. And he also provides, like I said, a good anchor defensively. So that's why the Clippers, I really think that they are a scary team. They are flawless. They play such great defense. And then they have these 4 seasoned superstars who are seemingly fitting into the pieces that they should be fitting into. That's scary. That's scary. Of course, the Celtics saw them recently and got blown out. It was the worst game of the year. And that was scary. Because we were playing well. We were moving the ball. Man, just wasn't going to happen. All right, so that's Hope's Hotel. Another look at it right quick here. That is Hope's Hotel. We're not going to show the parking lot teams. They are in the parking lot. But to read off the full, from the bottom up, from the lobby up, the lobby, we have the Heat, the Lakers, the Kings, the Sixers, the Pelicans, the Magic, and the Hawks. And then up in a standard room, we have the Bucks, the Suns, the Pacers, the Warriors, and the Mavericks. Now up to the Royalty, the Sweets, the Denver Nuggets, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the OKC Thunder, and the New York Knickerbockers. Then, finally, the penthouse has the Clippers from the West and the Celtics from the East. Remember, I always do one team from each conference in the penthouse. It'll never be 2 East teams and 2 West teams. It's always going to be a representative of the West and a representative of the East. Right now, Clippers representing the West. The Celtics or the Bulls are representing the East. So there you have it. That is Hope's Hotel, my tier ranking of title hopes for every single NBA team across the league. So yeah, that's about it. That's what I have to talk about entering this second half of the season. Real quick, like I do always in every episode, I'm going to go over a list of games that I think look good moving forward in the NBA this coming week when NBA comes back, along with the Celtics slate of games. So let's go ahead and do it. So this All-Star weekend extends all the way to Thursday. Thursday is when games presume. On Thursday, there are some good games. The NBA is coming out hot from the All-Star break. We got the Clippers at OKC. Clippers, I just put them in a penthouse. OKC, residential suite owners. They've been in the suites basically all year. 2 great teams in the West that will surely see each other in the playoffs. And don't call me Shirley. Then we have the Suns visiting the Dallas Mavericks. Again, great rivalry. We went over it. Timmy KGB and I did in the episode of Major Wagers surrounding rivalries week. And that's one of the best current rivals, right? We have the Suns versus Mavericks, Booker versus Doncic. It's going to be a great game. That's on TNT. And then later on TNT that night, we have the Lakers at the Warriors. Just another installment of LeBron James versus Steph Curry. Should be a good one. Like I said, Lakers are kind of hot and cold, and the Warriors are on the uptick right now. So that should be a fun game to watch also on TNT on Thursday. And then on Friday, there's only really one game I'm looking out for, and it's on ESPN. That's the Bucks at the Timberwolves. If you believe in the Bucks and you believe in the Timberwolves, both teams are good. They could easily see each other in the playoffs, see each other in the finals, that would be. And then on Sunday, we got 3 really good games. We have Dallas at Pacers, which is going to be a good one. 2 fast-paced teams. That's on ESPN. We got the Kings at the Clippers. That's another ESPN game. That's going to be fun. Again, Kings, high-powered team, maybe a lower seed, might see the Clippers early in the playoffs. And then the Lakers at the Suns, KD versus LeBron. Again, if you're a fan of the NBA, just fun. Not as many impactful implications moving forward in seeding necessarily in a lot of these games, but just fun basketball. And then the Celtics slate of games to look forward to. We only have 2 games this week with the shortened week with the All-Star break. On Thursday, we travel all the way to Chicago, the Windy City. We hit 2 major cities, 2 major American cities this week. We travel to Chicago, 8 p.m. to take on the Bulls, And then on Saturday, gonna be a great game. Hopefully the injuries are not piling up for the Knicks, but we travel to the New York Mecca a basketball, so they say. Saturday night, you can guarantee where I'm going to be. My butt glued to the couch with a good cocktail in hand, watching this Boston versus New York in New York, 8:30, ABC, big stage. Jason Tatum, double nickel? Am I calling that? Jason Tatum, double nickel? Am I calling that in the Garden? Tribute to Jordan? Am I calling that? I don't know. No, I'm not calling. Yes, I am calling it. You know what I call it? So those are the games. Great. That's everything I want to talk about. And I hope you go and have a beautiful rest of your day or night, whatever time it is, because this has been the Dribble.